welcome to the Walking Dead reviews on What the Flick. We're at the mid-season finale of Season 6. I'm Kim Horcher, this is Francis Maxwell, and this is Tim Frisch. They're not on camera. There they are. Yay! So who wants to do a quick rundown of what happened?
I'll take it. I guess at the start we are given some very symbolic scenes at the very opening with a very perplexed and tired-looking Sam, who is struggling to come to grasp with obviously what's going on, and you see the symbolic cookie in the corner being eaten by the ants, which was funny because I actually was starting to the episode with milk and cookies, so it immediately put me off eating that. But then we moved over and we seen all the walkers start to invade the city. We got an introduction to who's been on the radio the whole time, with Abraham actually being, it was Eugene, who at the start of it was actually making the connection to him. So we start to see the walkers make their way in. Rick grabs Deanna and tries to take her away. She falls. It seems like she just hurts herself, but of course as we get to it, she is being bitten, which was a little bit of a shock to me, but we'll touch on that. They all seem to find shelter. Most of our main characters seem to find shelter. Rick finds his way into the house with Carl and with the very angry adolescent child. And then we all have a gathering in the house, as well as another crew, which is Eugene and crew, find their way in a shelter. And then on top of that, we have Carol, who is in her conflict with Morgan, which just can't seem to wait. She is adamant that she wants to find out what he's hiding in the dungeon. Goes down, and it is the wolf, and they get into a little debacle there that we can touch on. And all while that's going on, we have a minor glimpse of Glenn, who sees Maggie in the distance, who can see her, but she just can't quite touch her. And we'll probably see him try to get to her ceremonially in the next part of the show. But I think that's about it. We can get into the details.
Excellent run through.
Thanks.
All right, so let's talk about it then. So Deanna, we know she's a goner now.
But she might climb underneath the bed.
No,
she might climb under the bed like Glenn did in the dumpster.
She's done. She's done, baby.
I thought it was a little strange that the body count for this episode, visible character deaths on screen, 0. We didn't see anyone die, although it's implied that Deanna has only moments left to live when we last see her. I sort of liked her death. I was surprised that we didn't see anyone die, considering how many walkers broke in.
It goes against the grain. Usually in mid-season and season finales, we have that. I actually really like that part of it. I was saying to myself all along, like, she knows she's going to die. What kind of character development? Because she's shown so much character development, I think, in the last few episodes. I've liked her as a character. I was sad to see her go. But she actually, I was thinking to myself, why not just utilize her as obviously a distraction, because she knows that she's going to go on now. So even if we don't want her to throw herself in there. Yeah, you don't mean her to throw herself in and take all the walkers away. But if she shoots herself and falls into the crowd, or utilizes whatever she can to distract some of them, then it's going to help in the long run. And that's what you see at the end with great... I love the sound effects, because there wasn't any sound. Like the way they directed it with no sound and just her screaming into the camera, I thought it was pretty good.
I love the face she made. I thought she did a great job with a wordless screaming death scene.
Yes.
I was sad to see her go, because she was marking just about the first time Rick seen himself really challenged with who is the most effective leader and who can, take everyone in a good direction where we go. I think what we've learned a lot in this half season is that Rick maybe isn't always the best leader. I've seen the show take a lot of big risks, more or less paying off.
Yeah, I feel like in this season so far, the risks that Rick has taken haven't obviously unfolded the way he's wanted it to, and it's posed the question of not just so much a leadership, but more of a democracy, and people that want to take different looks at what should be done. Like, we've got Michonne now being asked a question by Deanna. What does she want to do from this? Like, what does she want from this? That Michonne was saying to her that she's thinking that these plans that she has in place could actually work, and she would like to be part of that. So maybe that's her role, that she takes up a leadership role, not so much in directing everyone to safety like Rick has done in executing the plans, but thinking ahead for the future, because Rick rarely thinks for the future, if you think about it. He's thinking about solving the problem in the moment, and that sometimes, most of the time it does work, but sometimes it can be his downfall. He wanted to remove the walkers from the situation at that moment. Some other people wanted to take further consideration. If they waited, the same thing could have happened, but according to what we have seen, his actions in that moment have come back to bite them, with them breaking through eventually.
Now, another balance of power that we had to look at was between Morgan and Carol, which was, we need to make sure this guy won't kill again, and then we'll set him free, versus, no, he'll definitely break free and kill everyone, which he happily agreed to. I don't know if it's damning or good that Carol was right about that, or that she's on the same mindset as a homicidal maniac. And I don't know if Denise will suffer for that.
Well, I think it gave us a pretty badass scene of two of our obviously now gifted characters in combat fighting each other. Like Carol definitely gave a great account of herself. I thought she might have got the better hand.
Except for that white girl fall in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. That was what I was going to talk about.
Do you think that was planned?
Well, why does that's what I was thinking. That could be.
You think that was part of her, like, oh, I'll make it look like I have a concussion so I can figure out what Morgan's really up to?
If she's thinking about that, she is so ahead of the game.
She's pretended to be weak before.
Morgan needs to get on her level.
But before we get to that scene, that's my only, like, I generally like this episode. The only criticism is, like, are we on an ice rink or something now? Because Maggie's fell. Like, she fell when she was trying to run towards a ladder. Like, these are people that after 6 seasons have killed walkers by the thousands.
She fell because the ladder.
No, she fell
started
before.
on the ground. And yes, the tower just fell, and Rick and Tobin and Maggie were all on the ground. But I feel as though that lends itself to this thing. The problem that I have with the writing in general is that it seems like making characters act outside of how they normally act is the only way they know to create tension. Like normally, Maggie is a crack shot and she's got it in control. We've seen her like be badass for several seasons now. But she starts on the ground, backing away like this, just firing.
Emotions.
No, but she does.
Yes, I guess, but that was manufactured tension and drama. And I think they did it really well when she was climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
I think that tension, that anxiety was visceral. It felt real.
We knew she was going to make it, but it also I felt on the edge of my seat at that
Yeah,
point. It was very good staging.
Right, that was. The other parts weren't.
Well, this is the first time, I think, in this season for a long while that I did feel anxious and I was on edge. I feel like they did create that tension very well. I think it was all to do with how the shots were obviously shot.
Do you think it's a balance between our expectations at this point, this deep into the series, 6 seasons in, mid-season, end of season finale? We're used to seeing something. Deaths, we're used to seeing destruction, mayhem. This time, maybe they play the tension to our expectations.
Well, let's talk about expectations for a second, because this was a mid-season finale, and we've seen a lot of spectacular mid-season finales. I mean, the standoff at the prison, the standoff at Woodbury, finding Sophia in the barn, they're usually like huge gasp moments that happen in these mid-season finales. And although this one, tied a lot of strings together and showed us the climax of many events that have been building throughout the first half of the season, nothing really jumped at me and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. I can't wait 2 months to get back to this. I need to know."
Well, I felt that the very last scene did that for me, is because.
Are you talking about the post-credit scene?
No, not that one. We'll get to that one.
Okay.
But I'm talking about with walking out. We've seen them obviously cover themselves in guts before to the point that they can blend in. But what people can't realize, like I looked on Twitter, people calling like, "Oh my God, that little kid's so annoying. Why is he doing this?" Like, this is what you need to think about. We're so used to seeing Carl grown up in this environment. He's now obviously a badass, knows how to deal with walkers. These kids have been sheltered. This is how you would naturally react. Your mum comes to you and says, "Go and cover yourself with guts and walk out with us and pretend everything is okay."
She had a really interesting phrasing of that, which was pretend to be brave.
And pretend it's not real. It's not real. Pretend to be brave.
And that for me, as soon as I seen him covering guts, that's where my gasp moment was, because I thought there's no way they're walking out of there without this kid asking his mum what's going on. And I thought that was great direction to show that, the way they were standing on the porch and just kind of in awe at how overrun their city was, and then to have the kid walk through it, and in the very last scene before we get to the post-credit, just say like mom asking her, like that for me, I was gasping, and I can't wait to see how they take that in a different direction, because obviously there's so many different possibilities that can happen. Now that the walkers are obviously going to be attracted to that because they see that. I was just gasping the fact that they put Judith underneath that cover of all the guts as well. I was like, all right, is she going to cry?
They have to do it.
I know. Is she going to be one that cries out loud? I thought that rather than the go-to kind of sometimes they just go to a climax, like you said with Sophia in the barn, or in previous instances, I like that they kind of teased it a little bit more. People were frustrated. Trust me, I know people went crazy. This is the worst cliffhanger ever, but I actually thought this was pretty smart of them to do that.
It's something that they've tackled more this season, is how do we handle an apocalypse with children?
Yeah.
And I also include Enid and the struggle between Carl and the boy whose name I forgot. Ron. Great, thank you. And this, your dad's an asshole scene.
Yeah, it was funny.
He should have said so's yours, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And
he was thinking it's super hard though.
I felt it. But it's interesting to see how they take that, and what is it like to grow up in this? And we do have Carl, who is very adept.
Yes.
But he's he was kind of a dick before. He doesn't know how to deal with other kids.
Yeah.
And we have these other kids who can't function with anything, clearly.
That's what the funny part was. You might not have said your dad's an asshole as well, but they did say, like, Ron said to him, your dad's a killer, and he said, so is your dad. And that's the thing is, and it transcends over to Sam, the other kid, who did a great job, by the way, making him look so unwell. Like, he looks like he hasn't slept in weeks, which he probably hasn't with his eyes. But it is a situation like these kids who haven't been so used to this environment, they can't tell the difference. Rick looks like a monster to them. He killed his dad. He's put together a plan that's caused many more people in their environment to die. We know that they probably would have been overrun at one point, but they don't know that. They've been living safe before this group came along. So that's what I think is interesting. It's posing this question as these kids don't know. To them, Rick's just as scary as the walkers. Like, that's all they've known. That's all they've seen. They haven't seen the walkers break into their grounds since Rick's came. They have broken. Their dads died. So that's why I never jump on that bandwagon of, yes, they might be annoying. They might be annoying kids, but they have a point from their perspective.
And to that end, I think that the leader of the Wolves is right. These people are dead.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Rick came. Yes, Rick trained them how to shoot. But they don't have that mindset. They don't understand. They haven't been out there living. They're only ever moments away from fucking up to the point of they're going to die.
Do you think Sam and Ron have a chance in this scenario?
No,
or not
zero.
So much?
Zero.
What do you mean a chance in the...
See, that's saddening, because we have to think, we have Maggie who's pregnant, which is like, oh, what's the future going to be? Is there any kind of future in this horrible, horrible hellscape? Mm-hmm. And it's, you look at kids like Carl and you think, maybe. You look at Sam and you think, I don't know.
I mean, it would make sense, obviously, to go into the next season if they were to pay the consequence from him not understanding what is real and what isn't. But I think that would kind of go against the innocence they've been trying to push forward. They're trying to push forward this idea that, okay, we have now been shown a group that is accustomed to this. They know, even from all the youth, Judith will be brought, if she, obviously we're looking ahead, but she'll be brought up knowing what is going on. But these kids don't know, so how do they deal with it? So it would make sense for a kid that naive to cause the problem and to eventually have everyone pay the consequence for it. But I don't think that they'll be the result of it. I think someone else will die as a result of his naivety. I think it might be his mom. It might be someone else from part of the group, but no way are those kids going to be the direct response for this. That's my prediction. I think they get out scot-free, and then that provokes their journey to try and realize that, okay, you're going to have to make a transition here. You can't end up with going to the same direction.
You're going to have to toughen up.
Yeah, you're going to have to toughen up. But he might take the other direction and go like, can't remember her name, it's a few seasons back now, but the two young girls, the one girl that couldn't grasp the reality, and it ended up in tragedy.
Look at the flowers.
Yeah, look at the flowers. And that season alone, like, that was so eerie and so breathtaking as a scene, so brave for the writers to do something like that. I can see them taking a similar direction with this. Initially, I thought, when you heard the crying up the stairs, I thought it was going to be that kid. Like, that kid was going to have taken drastic measures. I don't know what he would have done, and that was a creepy scene when you seen Deanna crawling over the...
You know what? I did think it was him too.
So did I.
I thought he's done something to Judith. I don't know what.
And that's the thing. This whole half season has been about half measures.
Yeah.
The writers want you to think this big dramatic thing happened, but not really. Everybody's fine. Yeah. And they want you to think that Deanna ate the baby, or that Sam murdered the baby, or but then everyone's fine.
Yeah. And you think
there's nothing that makes my gut drop in this half season.
Well, and I think that is true. I just, in this episode, for some reason, I don't know if it was just the way it was shot, the way everything went. I was on the edge of my seat since the start, and I haven't been that way, especially the last 3 or 4 episodes I thought weren't good at all. And I would have liked to have... do you know what I did like, actually, is I liked that they stuck to the core group. I did want to know what was going on with Glenn. I did want to know what was going on with Maggie, but I feel like that would have just distracted me from the core problems that were going on.
If Glenn's scene wasn't in the episode, if Maggie's scene wasn't in this episode, nothing would have changed.
Yes.
All they did was make appearances, and...
Yeah.
I was much more interested in what they were doing because we've been more attuned to Glenn's story for a while now.
Yeah.
Are we ready to talk about the post?
Yeah, we can talk about
one more thing, though, because I wanna jump in on our, again, breaking the fourth wall line for this episode. 3 times it's in as many. When Tara says, they're talking about Abraham, and Tara says, he's not dead, how do you know? Because I didn't see it.
Yes.
Well, I mean, once again, that's the writers talking directly to us. He's not dead because I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And that was what was echoed in every comment thread about Glenn all season long.
Yeah, that's the way that it's, because that's what we've become
It's
accustomed.
clever. I like these clever little
accustomed to.
moments.
Everyone of major relevance to us, we've seen die. Like even when Merle was like apparently in that area of conflict, we still had to see him die. Like Daryl had to go back and see that he was a walker before we kind of came to terms with it. Otherwise, we're just kind of thinking, all right, are they just wandering? Are they dead? Will they make a return? And that's just what we've created as a show. That's why we knew that no matter what happened with Glenn, we would have had to have seen something.
That is a weird thing to say, though.
What?
Right?
Yeah,
Like, oh, I
we
didn't
haven't
see
seen
him
it.
die.
It sticks
It's
out.
like they're the
very
audience.
self-aware, and
It's
that's
highly improbable that you would watch any particular person who's
Right.
not with you die. But okay, Tara.
Yeah.
just like when Maggie says, you know, I don't get to know.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? I don't remember. I'm sorry to derail us. Let's talk about the after the credits.
All right, so after the credits, all your stuff belongs to Negan.
Negan. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that's a decent cliffhanger if you know who Negan is.
But
if you're a
If you don't,
comics
that kind of
reader,
sucks.
it doesn't make any sense.
know.
Negan, that's
But
a stupid name.
even-
Why would he take my shit?
Even if you're not a comic book reader, you should have watched The Walking Dead for this many years to know what's going to happen. They're going to tease this mythical character for the second half of this season. He's going to make an appearance in the last episode, and then that'll be it for season 7. It's now taken care of, like they do with most of these characters. It's either they're going to show them, they'll tease them, and then going into the next season, like they did with Terminus, they'll probably take care of them at the very start and then move forward.
I don't know. I think they learned their lesson after Terminus. I think they're ready to dive in.
Well,
I mean, they haven't been doing much of that, right?
no, I think they'll dive into the myth of what Negan stands for. I don't think they'll show him until later on in the season. Maybe just tease him towards the end.
What did they do with the governor, though? Because he's another charismatic figure.
Right. I think if you cast someone that's a good actor,
Yeah,
like
just
Jeffrey
get-
Dean Morgan is,
Yeah.
you want to use him. You don't want to have him like exist mysteriously on the side for comic book readers. You want to show his acting chops. You want to show him do badass shit. And comic readers know what that badass shit is.
Well, I don't know if it's. I don't think this classifies as spoilers, but when I was looking at his IMDb, it only says he's in for episode 16 of this season.
Maybe he's not Negan.
No, he is Negan. Yeah, he's been casted as Negan.
I think he's cast as Negan.
But that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
that
I don't know if
sucks.
that's just another trick of the trade, but that's what I'm saying is like, I would love to see him introduced from the start and going into this. But then again,
Francis, you're such a spoiled sport. Probably.
but that's
right.
what I'm thinking. But that's why I'm bringing that up because that is a flaw if they do that. I don't like that anymore. We've seen it with Terminus. We've seen that teasing, and then when we got drawn into the cannibals, they were here and gone in the space of 2 episodes in the next season, and that could be what they're trying to do. I would like to see this character, like a governor, be very prominent in the second half. Maybe that was just a trick to put that there. I know some people brought it up online.
They've
and
done it before.
They have
It's
done.
not
Yeah.
unheard of.
Yeah.
And, IMDb is not always 100% correct.
No, I'm not saying
It's
they are. That's just
possible.
that was just kind of backing up my thoughts on it. I don't want it to happen, and I'm sorry if someone has watched and this has spoiled it for them. Don't take that as an actual factual piece of information, but they have done it before.
They did hold back the IMDb episode count for Steve Yeun.
Oh yeah, no, that was their trick as well as.
And then after it was revealed that he's live, they added the rest
Yeah.
of the numbers in for the season. So
Just so you
they're
know.
not above that. They've done
Yeah.
that before.
But nonetheless, I do like that they have introduced a new antagonist whilst we haven't really taken care of the previous antagonist. So we might have a conflicting group, or that they might come together.
I would
Wolves
love that.
and Negan, where we might need to deal with 2 separate antagonists trying to take over Alexandria if they get it intact. And then we have somewhat of a...
Alexandria can't survive this, can it? I mean, I think Michonne was saying that, perhaps to be comforting, but it looks like it's over.
Well, that's what they want us to think, and I think it's been so ritual with the prison and with Terminus and everything else. Like, there's going to need to be some place that can settle. Like, if they rebuild it, I've got no problem with that. And then we then are dealt with the situation of Negan therefore believes that it's his, right? Because that's what his perspective is on this. I'm looking forward to. I've read into his character. I know what it stands for. If there's anything that's to be taken in this world, it's his, and it's supposed to be. Portrayed by him and his group of saviors, I guess, as for their protection, that they take over the group, that they take what they're owed, or basically what they think they're owed, and that's what we kind of got the glimpse of with the previous group, is with Daryl, right? They were saying that they had to give
this is
something.
mine. I earned
Yeah,
it.
this is mine. I earned
yeah.
it. So whereas I guess Negan has no boundaries of what is yours or what isn't. It's all
I would
his.
like to see that group pop up again.
Yeah, they will. I
I earned
think.
it group, the Saviors, the Wolves,
Yeah.
Rick's group. walkers all coming to a head. That sounds
That's
fantastic.
why I
love
was
to see
enjoying
that.
this episode, because there's a lot of cliffhangers there that we have their own internal struggles, but then we have these outs.
Are
these
all the
other
characters
struggles.
on a cliffhanger right now? Like,
think
we
most
don't
of them
know
are,
if
yeah.
Rick's group is going to
Glenn
make it through.
sees Maggie.
Yeah.
Morgan and Carol are knocked out
They're
on the
both
floor.
knocked out.
The wolves
not
and
dead
Denise
for some
is
reason.
hoping they don't get killed.
I thought, honestly, that was it. That's where you were talking about the gas moment. You really want to hit home about how you're brave as a writer, and you don't really, anyone can
You
die.
shoot Morgan
No,
and Carol on the ground.
maybe
Holy
no,
shit.
I-
Holy shit, would that be an amazing...
I wasn't going to go to that extremity. I was thinking she takes Tracy and
Denise?
just...
Tracy?
Is it, sorry,
Denise?
Oh my God, Tracy. Who's Tracy?
I don't know.
I don't know. It
Tracy
might be
is.
on it. You take Denise and you just let her into the walkers, which sounds horrific, but that would allow the wolf to escape. That's what I thought they were going to do.
Yeah,
When
I
he takes her, and it could still happen.
Seems like his plan.
You could use her as bait, but that's a character that we've grown to like out of the Alexandria group. That's a character that we have faith in that can handle it, because she's a doctor and she can be of assistance to them. So if you kill her, then you're proving that you really don't give a shit about who we are attached to. And as a show, you can basically take any turns you want.
Interesting.
I wouldn't have liked to have seen it because I would have been sad, but that's what they could have done. They might still do it.
They spent so much time building her up and having her overcome an obstacle.
I
Yeah, but
personally
they
I wanted to see the next 30 seconds of all of those storylines.
Yeah.
Because I think in the next 30 seconds of all of them, they would give me a really dramatic climax cliffhanger. But they sort of ended with like everybody like in relative safety.
But is that not what? Is that
I mean,
not what?
no-
is-
There's an issue of peril for all of them. I
Sure,
think.
sure. They're all in peril.
But is that not a way of drawing you back in? Do you not feel like you're more excited for February now because you're used to coming back to see how the team reacts to a traumatic moment? Now you're seeing how they're gonna get out of or fall into a traumatic moment.
To me, it's more dramatic when somebody rolls up to my front door with a tank, or when I'm locked in a boxcar, but I have this determination and resolve. Like, that's what makes me want to know the very next thing that happens.
Well,
yeah.
I think you both have fair points.
Thanks,
But
Kim.
it happened the way it happened. And you can come back in February and see.
Oh man, it's
We'll be here too.
Yay. All right. Thanks for sticking with us this far. We'll see you again in February. Bye-bye.